Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of English Lessons with Grammar Man, on location. So normally I film these videos from my language school in Zurich, Switzerland. You can check us out here, but today I'm in Perth, Australia, my hometown. So that's the Indian Ocean out there, because Perth is located on the west coast of Australia, and it's a lovely 30 degrees today, which is a little warmer than Switzerland this time of year. I'm really excited to pass on this lesson today because I teach this little trick at my school in Switzerland and see awesome results. The lesson is on how to remember all modal verbs easily. There are 9 modal verbs, and they are can, could, shall, should, will, would, and may, might, must. First, I will explain why it is important to be able to identify these verbs, and then I will show you a simple yet powerful trick so that you can always remember all of them. So modal verbs are special. They are different to normal English verbs like walk, run, or swim. They follow some set rules. So I'll go through the rules for you. Nice and simple. Modal verbs are never the only verb in a sentence. They always help the main verb. This is why modal verbs are sometimes called helping verbs or modal auxiliary verbs. Now, rule 2. This is a really good rule to know. They are always followed by the base verb. Modal verbs are always followed by the base verb. For example, we would say, I should buy a car. Not, I should buying a car. Only ever followed by the base verb. So I should buy a car, we have the modal verb is should, followed by the base verb buy. Another example, I could have bought a car. Modal verb is could, followed by the base verb have. The only time that they are not followed by a base verb is when the base verb is clearly understood. For example, I should buy a car. Yeah, you should. Rule number 3, they never change their form. So you cannot add s, you cannot add ed, you cannot add ing. Modal verbs have no to infinitive. So for example, a modal verb must, there's no such verb as musted or musts or musting. So once you know the 9 modal verbs, that's it. They don't change form. Nice and easy. Okay, so to form a negative sentence with modal verbs, we add the word not after the modal verb. We cannot use do in any of its conjugated forms. So we don't use in the negative don't, doesn't, or didn't with modal verbs. So an example of a negative sentence. I will not eat that cheese. Modal verb will, followed by not, to make it negative. I will not eat that cheese. So some things I've heard before is I don't will eat that cheese. I don't will eat that cheese. Wrong sentence. We don't use the word do conjugated to form negatives with modal verbs. We only add the word not. Okay, and the last rule, to form questions with modal verbs, we also don't use do conjugated. So we don't use do, does, or did to form questions. Instead, we simply change the order of the subject and the modal verb to form a question. For example, the statement you could drive me to the shops becomes could you drive me to the shops? Just change the order. So we don't say do you could drive me to the shops. I've heard that similar sentences to that with English learners. That's incorrect. So now you know the structure to form questions. So that is the main traits or characteristics of modal verbs. They have nice clear rules about how to use them correctly. You can see that they are very different to normal verbs, so it's important to be able to recognize them, to remember them, so that we can, use grammatically correct English. So now for the amazing trick that I promised you. All you have to do is come sing with me. Come starts with C, sing starts with S, with starts with W, and me starts with M, which is the first letter of the groups of modal verbs. Come sing with me. Can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must. Can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must. So easy, yeah? Come sing with me is all you have to remember, and it should trigger the first letter of each modal verb. Good, I love that rule. It's beautiful, works really well. And that's a wrap. So now you know all the modal verbs, you know the rules, the 5 basic rules, and most importantly, you know how to recognize them with the very simple song. Okay, so as always, thank you for watching and supporting the channel if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber yet, be sure to click the big red button somewhere so that you never miss any of my content. For more learning material, courses, Skype lessons, etc., much more, be sure to check out my English school here at www.progressiveenglish.ch, somewhere this side, yeah. And importantly, I wish you all the very best with your English goals and life goals. Thanks everyone. Cheers.